Good afternoon, Maroof. Welcome to the video podcast. We can begin with your introduction.
Good afternoon. Devda, thanks first of all for this. I would love to share my learning so far and give back to the community what I've learned so far. So with that, I'll start. And so, hey, my name is Maroof. I currently work at TATA1mg as a product manager. Before that, I was in Bayus, again working as a product manager. I am an alumnus of IIT Roorkee. Right after IIT Roorkee, I did a stint. I co-founded a company called Fristo, which was a hyperlocal grocery marketplace. So from there on, right after college, my journey of building products started, and my love for solving problems at scale started. And unfortunately, that company we had to shut down. After shutting down my company, I was wondering, hey, what I should do next. During that time, only it came up that product management is something that is very close to what I was doing as co-founder at my own company. So I figured, hey, let's try it out, and that's how my journey of product management started.
Very interesting, Maroof. Maroof, tell us something about this space, product management as a profession, and some key matrices used in your industry, and your outlook on its future prospects.
I'm going to tell you what my perspective is on what is PM role according to me. Yeah, so I was just wondering this, and I would twist the question a little bit, and I would say, yeah, what is the core job that you're hired for, right? Why a company is hiring product managers? I think you are being hired to answer three questions for the company or for the product that you're working on. And these three primary questions that you need to answer for is, what needs to build, for whom it needs to build, and in what order the product needs to be built. I think primarily, if you are doing that job well, then you are doing pretty good. The secondary, there are obviously secondary jobs. Like for me, if this is something that's you should definitely be doing. The secondary job is obviously around, maybe collaboration or how we are doing the stakeholder management things and stuff like that.
Maroof, explain your journey to this product management space, your interview experiences, few anecdotes if you can.
So I would share a little bit more light on after my, switch from doing my own startup thing and coming into product management. I'll distribute it into two parts. One is the interview experience and my overall journey. Interview experience, I think it's pretty standard, yeah, right? I mean, when you think around कि यार मेरे को interview देना है and product management ही देना है, then the way I think about is कि यार what are they looking for? So the way I look at it is कि people are at a very core, at a very fundamental level, people are looking for three or four things, right? They are looking for your ability to think structurally. Are you able to do structured thinking? Are you able to do critical thinking, right? Things like these. And then are you efficient communicator or not? Are you able to communicate ambiguous concepts or ambiguous topics to someone who doesn't know it? So basically, that's where your articulation and your efficient collaboration comes into picture. And the third thing that they are looking for is, do you have empathy? Are you a curious person by trait or by nature? So I think if you have these two or three things, one is structured thinking, the second is efficient articulated communication, and the third thing being, are you empathetic, are you curious? And the fourth thing that I was just wondering around this, and that I believe is also critical, is, do you have thick skin? The reason for I say that is because you will be dealing with 20 other stakeholders, 20 different folks from across the board, and these guys are best at what they do, right? They are the for example, you're talking to a marketing guy, or you're talking to someone, an engineer or a QA or an analyst or a designer, right? They are good at what they do. You need to understand what they are doing and how, and basically you are quickly learning things, you are quickly adapting, and then you are taking decisions on the way. So it's a whole lot of learning that happens every single day. So you have to take, you will feel that maybe I'm stupid. I don't know anything on a daily basis, right? But you need to have that 16 and just understand this is what your job is. Basically, you need to learn fast, adapt fast, and then build fantastic products.
Very interesting, Maroof. So, Maroof, can you throw some light on qualitative research and how data is of value, customer data, let's say?
Yeah, that is an interesting question. Okay, so coming back to qualitative research, and then you asked about data. So if you think around this, let's look at it from two lenses, right? Why we are doing research and why are we looking at data, right? So, so I'm gonna take stab at things purely from discovery perspective. So obviously you can look data retrospectively once you have built something and you're tracking something. So I'm not gonna go there right now. I'm gonna just look at, since you have asked qualitative research parallelly, so I'm gonna look things from more from discovery perspective. On a very, very high level lens, uh, data is telling you what is actually going on, right? And qualitative research tells you a little bit of what is going on, but not at a very distribution level exactly who is doing what. It's not answering that. Qualitative research answers, like when I'm doing qualitative research, I'm looking more for why a certain thing is happening. When I'm thinking from discovery perspective, data is for what is going on. Qualitative research is why something is going on. There's a very interesting example that I saw somewhere in the past. The example goes like that, if you had a girlfriend and you put a lat long GPS on your girlfriend and you saw that she's meeting someone, right? From data, you could just easily see that your girlfriend is meeting someone, right? Some male friend or something like that, right? There are 10 different hypotheses that you can build just from that data. And maybe she's cheating on you, or maybe she's meeting a friend, or maybe she's meeting a colleague or something like that, right? But data is just telling you what exactly is going on. That's just it, right? But when you go and interview her, that's where qualitative research comes in, and it tells you actually why she's there. So it's very easy to get uh, fooled out of data until you don't dig deep and understand why something is going on. So that is one lens from which you can see things. Second lens that you can see things is like, so I was talking about discovery, right? So while you are doing discovery, discovery can be, so obviously while you are doing discovery, one can be it's a data led discovery. The second could be that it's a qualitative research led discovery. So in my experience so far, the way I look at it is qualitative research primarily helps you build hypothesis with some sort of estimate at hand, right? So uh, when you're building something from fundamental or first principle perspective, you can say that, uh, let's say that a particular group of people are facing this problem. That is an observation. Then you build on top of that key, this is the hypothesis. One could be this is the particular reason why they are facing that problem. That would be an hypothesis. Then you can obviously go and do qualitative research that, hey, this is the problem that you are facing, why you are facing, how you are currently solving. Come back, record all that data, and then start doing uh, building for that particular hypothesis. Start building a couple of solutions. Say, I can solve this in 10 different ways. Do a little bit of estimation from data, and then you can say, hey, this is my qualitative research, and I know whom I want to solve for, what I want to solve for, and how I want to solve for. So it would go something like that. Now, a completely different lens could be a very scaled product, right? Where, so I would take an example of Instagram. So let's say for Instagram, you could just say that, for let's take an example of Reels, right? You could just say that I launched Reels. As a product, I have mandated it to be a 5-second thing, right? So 5-second feature, right? You released it, and then you observe that so and so people are interacting with it, and it's scaled to so and so level. Now you can just come back and say, hey, let's experiment with it, and just say, I'm gonna do 5 different experiments. I'm gonna make it 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or 20 seconds, whatever that is. Just release it and see at scale what happens, and then observe the data. That's where the power of data comes, when you are building things at scale, and you can say, hey, from data, I have this understanding that this particular feature works out if I have done 3 different experimentation and this is what works. I really don't know why it's working right now. It's because of some human psyche level or something that is working out. I don't know that. I'm gonna find out later, but let's capitalize on that and build on it. As long as my metrics are doing fine. So that's data for you. So that's how I look at data and qualitative research.
That's a very detailed way and very solid example. I think viewers will really relate with that. So, Maroof, coming to stakeholder management, let's say you as a product manager are dealing with multiple stakeholders. Let's say there is business side and then there are developers. Always a proof of concept or a data bag thing which you use to convince them, or is it sometimes beyond data, aligning to the North Star?
Yeah, before we go into all the nitty gritties of stakeholder management and things like that, I feel like let's again go take a step back and try to understand why it's required. Why we ask here stakeholder management is kind of like a necessity for a product manager, right? I think the basic reason for that is you are the cross link between 10 different teams, right? Uh, uh, you are bringing all these teams together to effectively converge on a solution on a daily basis. That's how I look at it, right? On a very broader high level, right? Then the second thing comes is when you are trying to converge, why do these people listen to you? Who are you? When you're talking to a designer, when talking to an engineer, why do they listen to you? When you're thinking about stakeholder management, I believe at a very fundamental core level, it all boils down to do they trust you? Because they don't report to you. They don't need to listen to you. First is do they trust you? The second, if there is some sort of common goal that uh, is expected to be reached, if they are equally excited about the point or the discussion that you are having. So I think broadly, if you can understand what motivates them, what is the incentivization that they are looking for, or what success, okay, let's put it differently. What is success for them? Just look at it that way and try to identify how their success is your success. Simply. That is the very fundamental and easy thing to do. Identify उनके लिए क्या success है, मेरे लिए क्या success है, is there a common solution, and just converge on that and build. Then there will be conflicting scenarios also that they don't want to do things that you want them to do. That's where trust and credibility comes into picture. So that's how you look at it. And then obviously there are strategies and skills that you can use or leverage to align people faster. So one of the skills that there is a very good talk by Sachin Rekhi. He's a founder of Notejoy, and earlier he used to work for LinkedIn. I think he was building LinkedIn Sales Navigator there. So what he talked about, how do you drive stakeholder management? He gave this talk at some college, I think 10 years, 15 years back. It's a very great talk on how do you do stakeholder management. So one of the things could be you influence people by taking buy-in from a person who people already trust, right? So if you're new to a company and you want to quickly do stakeholder management, right? The first thing that you could do, the easier thing to do, is you go and find successes quickly, right? So you join a company, you identify 2, 3 things that are easiest and quick successes, you do it. Now people trust you because, hey, this is the guy I want to believe in. He's driving success. That is the one thing that you do. If somehow, because of the constraints of situation, you are not able to do it, what you do is find the person who people trust, talk to him, bring him on board. Then you can always go back and say, hey, while sharing an idea, who is having conflict, you can say, hey, I talked to XYZ and he is on board and he thinks it's a good idea. Would you be happy to talk and come on board, and I'll call him and let's sit together and see why he believes in this. Maybe I'm not able to convince this properly. So it's all about first coming in, putting your best foot forward and convincing these are XYZ reasons. because of which I believe this is going to work. If that's not working out, find someone else who can do that for you. So at the end of the day, get the job done no matter what. So that's how I look at it.
Got it, Maroof. So, Maroof, coming to your role as a product manager at TATA1mg, can you describe us what product you're working on and how it serves the market? And also, how do you determine success for a product?
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So I work at TATA1mg for the diagnostic product, and I primarily look into the growth pod. So I take care of growth for the diagnostic business from product perspective. A little bit about diagnostics product. So diagnostic is about how you get your body tested, right? So there are pathology tests and then there are radiology tests. So pathology is all about where someone will come and take your blood sample or a urine sample or a stool sample. So right now, if you want to get a pathology test done, conventional way was you go and find a lab, give the sample, take the reports. Right? We are basically online diagnostic service. Right? What we do is we bring that sample collection service to your doorstep. Right? You come to a platform, you book the service. Someone will, a phlebotomist basically comes to your place and takes the sample, and then the reports get delivered to you. That is one aspect of thing. And second aspect that we do is obviously radiology tests, where you come on a platform, find all the radiology labs that are serving around your area, and you can book a slot for that radiology test and go there, get yourself scanned or tested. That's about the diagnostics business. I look at the entire growth of diagnostic business from product perspective. The way you define the success of the product is a combination of a couple of things. Uh, First is what is the goal and what is the outcome that you want to drive, right? So goal and outcome are correlated, but I think primarily if you have clear cut understanding on this is the outcome that I want to drive, and this is and once you have set an outcome, right? Uh, So at a very scaled level, for example, if I'm thinking about diagnostic, the entire product of diagnostic, right? The end goal would be the entire experience of, booking to collection, right? Was that a great experience for the consumer? That could be one thing. So if I further break it down, for example, let's say there are different teams working to ensure that this entire experience works fast, right? So let's say I'm looking from a growth perspective, my metric could be number of orders per day, right? So that could be one metric. Now it also depends on what is the stage at which the product is, what is the stage at which the business is, and what is the strategy around what we want to achieve in next 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months. Accordingly, we set converge on a metric that we want to improve, and then once we have converged on that metric, and then we build things based to drive success for that particular metric.
Describe a day at your job. What do you do, and what are on key responsibilities, and how have things changed since you ever started doing PMing to current position?
I'll tell you how it should be. And I'm also trying my best to kind of converge to the ideal state, right? And we always try to be the best version of ourselves. So I'll start from that lens. I think the idea is that when you're doing product management, there are 100 things that you need to get done. The first thing that you should do is figure out what's gonna drive the maximum impact. And once you have figured that out, so basically start doing things in reverse. Figure out what you want to achieve in a quarter, then break it down, figure out what you want to achieve in a week. Once you have done that, then further break down to what you want to achieve that particular day. When you go there, first of all, figure out, whatever you have built, is it working fine or not? So that's gonna be, look at all your dashboards where all your critical metrics are there. Have a look at them. If they're all fine, that's great. And then you go on to since usually again it can be different for different people, but what I've observed, what works best for me, mornings may I have good energy and I have good mood. So I want to get things done that have highest impact. So maybe if I want to do some sort of deep work, some sort of thinking, that I would get that done first. and then the usual day starts. Where one thing recently that I've learned is when you have a very swamped calendar, what you do is figure out what are the one or two critical things in that calendar. Prepare for that maybe a week early or a day first thing in the morning. Prepare for that. That really helps, and your day starts. And I think one of the strategies that I've also learned recently is that if you are able to get the deep work done earlier in the morning, that's great. If not, try to put those slots in between and just own your calendar. Otherwise, the entire week will go and you won't know what happened. And at the end of the day or at the end of the week, you will be like, hey, it was a total waste of time. So what you do is block your own calendar and what you want to drive and what basically drives the maximum impact. Shreyas Doshi has a very good concept around this. It's called LNO framework. There are three types of tasks that you have. Some things that gonna drive exponential impact in comparison to the energy that you're gonna put in. Some things that gonna do 1x, 100x, 1x, and then 0.1x. So figure out 100x tasks and then get that done faster. So that really keeps you motivated and keeps your anxiety low once the day ends. So I think that's how you should look at the day and try to get things done.
And I would like to also know, how do you prioritize roadmaps?
Okay, that's a very broad, very interesting question. Okay, so when you say roadmap, what's your understanding of uh, are we talking about something quarterly, or are we talking about something specific to a feature, or are we talking about something annual or biannual? What's your current understanding on this?
When we are
Just help me with that. I'll answer accordingly.
yes, let's say we are adding a feature, and that will also come in multiple segments, right? How the addition is going to happen. So uh, these things can run parallelly, maybe may not run parallelly. So we need to see which one goes first, what feature we want to add first, and how important it is for us. The like how much value like we are getting, just like you said, 100x, 1x, and 0.1x. So how do we do that? You know better.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I think so. I don't know if what I'm gonna say it goes by the conventional definitions of roadmap or not. I'm just gonna tell you what my understanding is so far. It can be wrong. I don't know that. Right. So I think again I'll gonna take a step back and try to understand what is roadmap. Why why are we doing it and building it? The idea is that uh, uh, to narrow down and to remain focused, right? That's what the purpose is. Hey, there was an ambiguous problem. There are 10 million things that we can do. Can we narrow down? So the way you can do is, you can have a vision of the company, you can have a vision mission of the company, then you can have a annual strategy or a 5-year, 3-year long strategy that a company might have. Then it further boils down to what is your pod doing? What are your responsibilities, or what is the expectation from you, from your product team? So you can say that what is the metric that I'm gonna put a dent on, or what I'm trying to build for. Once you have that, then you say, okay, you try to stitch things together, right? At a very fundamental levels, you say that, here is where I am, here is what I want to go. So now once I have the start point and the end point, then I say, ki, how do I go there, right? Then you go back and then say, ki, what are the different opportunities out there, and then you list all those opportunities down, and then maybe figure out ki, uh, again how fast can I achieve, right? So that is one approach of saying things. Ki, one of the ways could be here, uh, let's say ki, in order to drive some impact, what is the minimum effort I want to put in and drive that impact? That is one way of looking at it in a very particular scenario. That is just the one approach. The second approach could be that if you're building a 0 to 1 product, and the earlier approach makes more sense when you are at a scaled product. You have very clear cut metrics, and you have a very clear cut understanding of the product, and then you are just building things incrementally. That's where it helps mostly. The other approach could be if you're building from a 0 to 1 perspective, then you again go at a very core level, saying like what is the core value proposition that I want to build for this particular user, and how the success would look like. So let's say, for example, I think that's where the concept of MVP comes into picture. So you say that, hey, a particular group of users are facing this problem, that's their current solution, and I'm going to solve for the solution. Then you say, okay, what's the ideal solution would look like? What's the ideal world would look like? So you just have a very clear-cut understanding of what the ideal world would look like. But you're not going to build that at one place at one point in time. You just want to validate a couple of your uh, hypotheses first, and then figure out, first of all, if you identified the pain point right. The second could be if your solution is right. The third could be that, and in this particular fashion only, I'm going really granular here, but you can say कि my hypothesis one could be कि, was my observation, was my qualitative research, was my estimation of the data that I had is right or not. Then you say कि, hey, let's say if that was right, then you say कि maybe the solution that I built, did that work? The third could be, again, the solution that I built, usme bhi you can go further deep into ki, let's say, is the solution right or not, or if the uh, what you essentially do is break the end outcome into phases or milestone where these hypotheses are getting tested, right? So you can just say that. So I'll give you a couple quick example to help you understand better. So let's say, for example, I want to build a marketplace, right? A hyperlocal marketplace. So when I'm thinking about that marketplace, I can just say ki in order for a marketplace to function, there would be a seller side, or there would be a buyer side, right? So the way you can think about is ki yaar, hey, it's a complex big product that you build. What you say, you can start with saying, hey, first hypothesis, since you are building a marketplace, first hypothesis is, are there enough buyers? The second could be, are there enough sellers? And then third could be, how are these people interacting when my product doesn't exist? If I build a product, what is the additional value proposition I am giving? You want to find answer for these three critical questions, right? And when you are going to build a product, you say, hey, I don't want to solve for the buyer side first, right? You can just say that I'm not gonna build for seller side first. I'm gonna build for buyer side first. So let's say in case of let's say you are building a marketplace where cars are being sold, right? So you identify people who want to sell cars. You want to, what the marketplace will do is help people who want to sell their cars and match them with people who want to buy cars. So it's going to be a two-side product. What you do is you don't build the buyer side product at all, seller side product at all. You just build the buyer side product. You build a website, uh, list all, just get the listings done, and put someone in the hindsight, someone from the operations, and then they are actually listing the product, right?
Got it.
And you run it for 1 or 2 months, and then you validate that, are there enough people willing to come on the platform and buy cars? Once you have proven that hypothesis, and then you
Right.
scale it further.
Yeah, broadly, you have answered all of my questions. Final one would be,
Mm.
do you have any advice for the people or aspiring PMs who are watching this video? And if you could briefly, yeah, advise them.
In terms of advice, I think one of the advice that I could give people who want to get into product management is try to understand the importance of proof of work in this day and age. By that, I mean that since there are a lot of people access to information, and there are a lot of skills out there, thanks to internet, uh, pe- people who are looking and hiring, they have a lot of options, right? Understand how do you differentiate yourself, and the best way to differentiate is have a proof of work. So even though if you don't have a management experience in the past, what you could do is try to do things that proves your skills, or that is something adjacent. So things like you could just do things that help you acquire those skills and prove to the hiring manager. So one of the skills that specifically for product management, I think, works is go and build your own company. Try to solve a problem, identify a problem, and try to build a solution for that. And even if the solution doesn't work, you will learn 100 other things that someone who hasn't done that, even though got into product management, you will have some sort of edge. That's what I believe.
That's a great advice, Maroof, and very unique advice. I feel with that, I've got all my queries covered. And thank you, Maroof, for being so patient and giving your time. Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks for calling me.